Firstly, just thanks to my illustrious team who helped us put this package together. Gamble McKinnon Green Landscape, Arup Structure and ESD and Urbis Urban Planning, and to all my guys back in the office who similarly sort of worked very hard on putting this together. Look, we really stayed fairly faithful to our original idea for a single loaded gallery access tower. So we've approached it a little bit differently than some of the other teams here tonight. But we really looked at a tower typology that gave great flexibility, that included a lot of landscape, was naturally ventilated, had access to roof gardens, had a high floor-to-floor height, and was positioned on what we call a green plateau, similar to what some of the other teams are looking at here tonight. We didn't really focus too heavily on the podium aspect of the design, but effectively our towers sit on a sleeved car parking podium, partially sleeved with Soho apartments and commercial suites, depending on what side of the street you're on. And then the towers actually sit on a heavily landscaped podium. So we actually validated Shane's diagram for the site by producing three towers which look past each other and have excellent orientation effectively to the north or slightly east of north. So Gambles have put this plan together which shows that they sit in a very verdant plateau. We've used the idea that you can certainly grow edible landscapes on such a plateau. Once you get a gravitas, a certain mass of size, creates a beautiful opportunity for recreation for the residents as well as open space, access to light and air. So pretty important kind of aspect of the design. The tower itself, as explained, we have wrenched the circulation off the back of the tower. So cross ventilation is one of the things that we've basically tried to maximise. So effectively the tower plate is literally a sausage that can be cut up depending on the developer's desire for 1 or 2 bed mix. The frontage is the same, so as the building goes higher in the air, there can be a higher percentage of 2-bedders, or lower down to the ground, you can increase the percentage of 1-bedders. The 1-bedders draw into the plan so that there's actually a crenellation, a great articulation to the facade is developed. Sky gardens punching through to the sky lobbies, creating just access, great access for community recreation space, and just breaking up the building, introducing green. So the apartments in detail, probably larger than the Lend-Lease brief, but perhaps that's just part of what it means to live in the subtropics, is generosity of planning. I think that's one thing that we have learned, that if you provide bigger, more generous plans, maybe they're more attractive to people and more livable, and people will stay in them longer, and perhaps there won't be a churn of people going through an apartment tower, which is one of the big problems with apartment tower typologies. So again, we've got front and back veranda, great cross ventilation because there's no circulation between you and the air at the front and back of the building. One of the ideas we explored for the podium was this idea that you could wrench the car park off the back of the Soho apartments, and thereby creating the possibility for cross ventilation of the Sohos, while at the same time screening the car park and creating a bit of positive pressure, so there is the opportunity to naturally ventilate the car park podium as well. And you can see our idea for the heavily landscaped podium. This is just a little vignette of the top of the tower, so you can see the sky lobbies wrenched off the back of the building there and create quite an interesting space between the main tower body and the lobby itself. Occupied roof garden, plenty of light and air penetration right through the tower, so those gardens can happen at a random or predetermined quotient depending on yield, needs, etc. So the overall section looks like that typically through the development. As you can see, there's some quite interesting spaces that are generated by pulling the circulation off. We effectively created 2 buildings in one, so the sky lobby becomes part of your experience in the building, not necessarily integrated with the tower, but a separate experience, using green walls, etc., to soften the experience of the sky lobby, and you get some fantastic views through the sky gardens, which are all 2 stories stories in height, or 3. Our towers, we deliberately made our towers look quite shaggy. So this is a view of the sky lobby side of the building with the green walls climbing up from the heavily planted plateau and the sky gardens punching through. And the view from the apartment side a little bit harder, but similarly sort of shaggy, and you can see the sky gardens punching through there. The guys from Gambles worked hard as well to select species, and their motto is not just a landscape but an ecosystem. So they've selected urban agriculture crops that will thrive in an environment like this as well. And again, that's their podium plan, which is shows, I think, huge potential for an inner urban development like this. The guys from Arups ESD also worked very hard on the ESD components of the building. So again, I think, as Barry was saying, there's no point pursuing fantasy ideas about what it means to save energy. We've got to get real, and all of these technologies that Arups proposing are real. So water harvesting, solar technology, biomass recycling, black water recycling, they're all available, they're all here now. I won't pretend to explain that chart on the right, but it's called a psychometric chart, which is not a measure of your mental health in any way, shape or form. But it is actually it does demonstrate that this building, for 88% of the year, is able to achieve a thermal comfort in a measurable sense as to what comfort is. So 88% of the time. The other 12 days, we've provided ceiling fans, and there's also the option to air condition the apartment if you so choose, but it has to happen off a battery backup type solar storage system. That's just a little bit about comfort measures. Ventilation system again, so very, very important about aspects to breeze and cross ventilation, and I think our scores sort of demonstrate that as well. Harnessing solar energy, so again, very important. We're trying to take the building off the grid if we can, through the use of a few different technologies, including solar, biomass, and those types of technologies. Water harvesting, rainwater harvesting, using just basic things like using efficient appliances, but also looking at the new technologies such as black water treatment, which is becoming more and more popular for recycling water for use in irrigation, those types of things. Materials, there's an aspect to providing comfort, I think, which comes through the use of particular materials. Obviously green walls and access to planting make you feel cool. So there's some really good data there that the guys from Arups have put together, which will be part of our report into that. I think that's it.
Thank you. I think the main thing for this project was about really taking the opportunity to explore in a way that hasn't been done before almost anywhere in the world, new typologies for much more sustainable, subtropical, high-rise, high-density living. And the advantage here is that we had a real site with a real client, a real problem that's actually going to get built. And we had great teams who were very experienced in this project type, who really responded to the challenge quite terrifically, shared their knowledge, collaborated across the teams, and I think out of that we've started to see some hints of where and how we can make high-rise living much more attractive to the community than it is at the moment.